This will be a hybrid event with a small in-person audience and many more joining remotely via digital channels. For the in-person audience, I'd like to start by sharing a few housekeeping rules. Let's keep our phones in silent mode. And for your convenience, we have multiple washrooms. On the right, there's a dedicated gents. And the next warehouse and the last one have both ladies and gents washrooms. Please inquire at the respective reception areas for additional guidance. So sorry for the delay in starting today. I think we're about 26 minutes late. We had a few technical glitches that we've resolved. Throughout human history, crises have been pivotal in developing our societies. The present coronavirus pandemic will arguably not be an exception. Entrepreneurs can be expected to rise to this challenge. The theme for this year's edition of KIW is Recovery and Resilience, Innovation and Entrepreneurship as a Tool for the Youth. To get us started, allow me welcome Richard Zulu, the chairperson of the Startup Uganda Association and CEO of Outbox. Richard.
Good morning to you all. Those with us here at Motive and those watching us on the various digital platforms that include Hoover, Facebook, and on our website. It was a cold morning in March this year that I decided it was important to prepare my team at Outbox for what was to come. Deep down, I knew that my routine was about to change greatly. As I sat down in my office to work on the presentation I would be delivering to my team in the next 2 days, I looked across the room and saw some of the 60+ participants in our academy that were undergoing a software development training. It made me wonder how best to communicate the fact that we won't be meeting anytime soon due to the coronavirus pandemic. This was at a time when no lockdown had been declared yet, and very few people really understood what was happening. 2 days later, I sat my team down in a small room and told them to prepare for how everything they know will change. I told them about how they'll have to work from home while bearing the intermittent power supply and poor internet connectivity. I told them of how what is to come will stress them mentally and impact their productivity due to the new routine and possibility of getting sick. I told them of how any pay raises will not be a priority, but rather cost cutting. Lastly, I told them how our entrepreneurs will have challenges accessing our services online. I tasked my team to share this message first with the 60+ young participants in our academy across the room, and later with the entrepreneurs in our programs. I was only able to prepare for what was to follow over the next few days because I had access to information. I belonged to a network of innovation and entrepreneurship organizations around the world who had already started experiencing COVID-19 lockdowns and were in a position to share their learnings for some of us to plan better. 1 week later, a total lockdown was declared in Uganda. Airports were closed, borders were shut, and most of us were told to stay home because we were non-essential workers. As I was contemplating how best to do what we do for the bold young men and women who take risks every day through the businesses they run, a young man I'll call Kevin reached out and shared about their dilemma. Kevin was running a small business in Luwero that was processing honey and packaging it for major urban cities like Kampala. Kevin could no longer transport honey due to reduced customer interactions in the market. Kevin then resorted to using the profits he had made before the lockdown for personal use on foodstuffs. Kevin did not know whether he would ever be able to restart the business. This is the dilemma many young people still face even today. They do not know what tomorrow will look like. Just like Kevin, this year has been uneventful for many of us out there. There has been loss and pain for many of us along the way. Almost overnight, an education entrepreneur could not pay her teachers because parents could no longer bring their children to our schools. A food entrepreneur could no longer sell their honey because they had no materials from which to make it. A transport entrepreneur could no longer pay their staff because there were no customers booking rides on their platform. The list goes on and on. However, within this whole chaos, there was a silver lining for a few entrepreneurs. They thought about how to help others cope with these challenges. Some entrepreneurs running financial services apps targeted the usual consumer, modified their apps into e-commerce marketplaces for other small businesses to showcase and sell their products. Those with e-learning platforms customized the same for schools so that children can continue with classes. A large number of retail entrepreneurs wanted to learn how to use digital tools like Facebook, Google Ads, and many more, so as to continue selling their merchandise. To me, these and many more are stories of resilience of a business entrepreneur. As we celebrate Kampala Innovation Week 2020 under the theme Recovery and Resilience, Innovation and Entrepreneurship as a tool for the youth, we are reminded that we each have a role to play in ensuring that those with businesses are able to return to their best as they create jobs for our young people. I speak here as one, but come as many through our association Startup Uganda, and call upon each other stakeholder to do whatever is possible to ensure that our young people are able to go home while comfortable that they have earned something for the day. We need to make invisible opportunities visible, provide affordable patient financing to allow many entrepreneurs to restart their vision, help many of them rethink how they manage their finances as ways of enabling them to bounce back due to the effects of the pandemic. With support from MasterCard Foundation, the Startup Uganda Association is working through the COVID-19 Resilience and Recovery Program to reach 40,000 young people as a way of enabling them to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that the next 3 days will provide a platform for us to share these stories of resilience, take stock of what is working well so far, and most importantly, pave the way for what else we still need to pay attention to as we work together to create employment opportunities for our young people. I would like to thank our anchor partners, UNCDF, who have been with us since the founding of the Startup Uganda Association. Our event funding partners that include Uganda Green Enterprise Accelerator, International Trade Center, Enable, and Response Innovation Lab. Our internet partners, Liquid Telecom. Our media partners, Next Media House. Our venue partners, Motive, which is where those of us attending in person are currently seated. I would also like to acknowledge the level of effort put in by our members, not only to make this event a success, but also throughout the year as an association. These include Hive Collab, Start Hub, NFT Consult, Innovation Village, Design Hub, Makerere University Innovation and Incubation Center, TechBuzz Hub, Outbox, Amara Hub, United Social Ventures, Shona, Social Innovation Academy Uganda, iVentures Africa, Marine Financial Group, and Refactory. Enjoy the next 3 days, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. And so we can hear from some of the local entrepreneurs in Uganda who have survived this pandemic, really, though it's still ongoing. Would like to have a video showcase of some of these startups: Tubayo, Hamwe, Ensibuko, Fiza, and Pro Interns, sharing the stories of how they have been able to run their businesses during this tough time.
My name is Gerald Otim. I'm the founder and CEO at Ensibuko. We're Ugandan fintech. We build solutions for the microfinance sector here. We have a banking platform for savings cooperatives and rural microfinance organizations, as well as a platform for savings groups and VSLAs.
I'm Brian Namanya. I'm the founder and CEO at Tubayo. Tubayo is a travel marketplace for Africa, and it's the easiest way for users to easily discover great adventures, trips, and also book unique homes around the country. So users, if a user is traveling to like Fort Portal, they can easily find what to do in Fort Portal. If they want to move to CP, they simply go through the app, search CP, find great activities to do there, and also accommodation. So one can easily plan for the trip and travel around the country.
My name is Alan Asimwe, and I'm a co-founder of Hamwe East Africa. Hamwe East Africa is an agri-tech company that has developed platforms that make connections between farmers, agribusinesses, and third parties like financial institutions to enable delivery of last mile services or products to smallholder farmers.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Atim and I'm the founder of Pro Interns. Pro Interns is Uganda's online internship platform. We connect students and graduates to employers through internship, placement and entry-level opportunities.
My name is Hamlo Bega. I am lead business operations at Feza. Feza primarily does three things. That's entertainment bookings for clients. So connecting artists, different artists to different clients, live shows, now online live shows, and radio airplay monitoring. COVID-19 I would say it's a mix. I wouldn't say it's been entirely negative, neither would I say it's been entirely positive. There have been certain aspects that have been negative. One of them, revenue, that a lot of the customers we serve are rural.
So we haven't been able to travel and reach them, so we haven't been able to implement, train, onboard them, or even support them. So we've had to delay some of our projects because of that. But it's also been positive because COVID-19 has shown people how important digital solutions are. So we have a lot of new customers as a result of that.
So during COVID, there was almost zero traveling around the country, so they couldn't afford to keep up with the teams. They laid off so many workers, and most of them actually closed their offices. And so the only thing they had to rely on was the digital platforms, and that's where Tubayo now came in. We decided to double down on that and reach out to as many people. So you find that people were now went back home. They would only sit on their laptop, design these beautiful packages, and then put them up onto the platform. So to us, it was validation of where the future is heading. You know, the future is going to be about efficiency. That means you have to operate at a very low cost, and it's about conveniency. So now users can easily discover or find things to do at the comfort of their homes. You know, so to us, it was a boost to push our model.
COVID was, of course, a very unfortunate onset of things this year, but we tried to turn the lemons into lemonade, and based on our business model, we've realized that the digitization and automation of businesses, both internally and externally, has improved. What do I mean? We've seen a much better uptake and attention from our clients. We've seen increased client requests, and that means that we've had to reshape or remodel how we work to be able to deliver services in a very short turnaround time. That has meant more investment, and we see, or we envisage even the need for more investment for us to be able to convert our ideas around automation in digital learning, for example, digital agronomy, into products that can then be accessed by our target users. Our target users are usually people who don't have quick access or who can't afford access to things like mobile phones, like internet, and so we have had to sit down and rethink or innovate around all those things, both for the sake of making sure that the business thrives or we sustain it, and also to ensure that we retain or get new business.
With COVID-19 hitting businesses on a global scale, at ProInterns we were also impacted. However, we'll manage to navigate these uncertain times by collaborating with other partners within our ecosystem to help us launch a blog. So essentially we launched a blog during COVID with Boundless Minds Uganda, and that blog focused on the workplace post-COVID and what young people can expect within the future of work. We've had over 2,000 views and downloads of that particular blog series. And also, in addition to that, we've managed to get international clients that have used our platform for Ugandan talent. So that means that we're opening up our talent pool to a global audience, which means increased remote opportunities for local Ugandans. So I think, you know, even though COVID has hit businesses of course in a terrible way, and it has kind of stopped our movement in terms of going to offices and pitching to new employers, we've managed to move a lot of what we do online, given that ProInterns is an online internship platform. In addition to that, we've managed to, you know, close deals essentially online, you know, whether that be through Zoom, whether it be carrying out recruitment via, not necessarily Google Meets and so on and so forth. So we've managed to navigate things in that type of way.
The pandemic presented a number of challenges. Once COVID-19 hit, musicians' gigs stopped all of a sudden. But at Feza, we thought that musicians should still continue to make a livelihood out of their craft, and that's why we started live.feza.com, a platform that enables pay-per-view so that musicians can perform online. So musicians do concerts They host them on live.feza.com, and clients can go and view these concerts after paying a certain fee.
The world is going digital. We've started to see a lot of rural communities now start to embrace digital. And I think that there is a big future for us, innovators that provide digital solutions in these communities. In the next 2-3 years, we expect to gain market dominance in digital solutions for savings groups and circles here in Uganda. But we also expect to start rolling out these types of solutions into other new markets, potentially within the East African region, but also there's been a lot of interest in West Africa.
Tubayo is going to be a global platform that enables travel all around the world. So probably in the next 10 years, we'll be so happy knowing that very many companies have built off the platform we've provided them. Yeah? I think that would be, that's something we see happening in the future.
So Hamwe being in this arena is working every day to make sure we have the right products, we have the right tools, we have the right innovations to enable farmers access the very, very key inputs which I mentioned at the beginning as information, quality inputs, and finances or money to be specific.
In the next 3 years, we envision pro-interns across the EA region. So currently we are based predominantly here in Uganda, but we definitely want to scale across the EA region, which means making sure that we can get internship and entry-level opportunities for, say, for example, Kenyans in Uganda or for Ugandans in Kenya. So being able to have those cross experiences, cross-cultural experiences across the board.
The pay-per-view platform is growing steadily and clearly. It shows that the future of entertainment, there's certainly a world where online pay-per-view platforms exist. You never know when another pandemic will hit, so pay-per-view is here to stay, and it's certainly going to keep on growing given the trend. We're going to continue doing online live shows for the rest of this year and possibly a bit into next year. And even if the gatherings continue and they start again, I think there will still be room to do a hybrid of both online and the live shows. This has been as a result of COVID-19. These are innovations that we wouldn't have come up with if this hadn't hit us, if this hadn't struck us. So this has been as a result of disruption, basically, as a result of COVID-19.
I hope you're as inspired as I am by the efforts of these young entrepreneurs to stay resilient and keep the lights on, even during a pandemic which was unprecedented. The next speaker we'll be having to provide a keynote is the founder and managing director of Cheers Delight Uganda. She is also the chairperson of Noya Fruit Growers Society and a member of the Private Sector Foundation. Julian Omala would be very honored to hear from you to provide this year's keynote.
Thank you. I want to thank the Almighty God for the gift of life. Amen? Before I start anything, I would request the audience to clap for UNCDF. All that, I wouldn't have done it alone as Julian or as Delight. I had a dream of making fresh juice from the fresh fruits. And UNCDF had a challenge to resettle the formerly displaced people in Noya from the camp back to their homes. And I used to think, how will I do it since 1996? One day I had a phone call from UNCDF. They said, yeah, you wanted to start a farm? I said, yes. Then I asked them, who told you? He said, Professor Maggie Chigozi. I said, yes, that's what I want. They all said, yeah, we are looking for a local investor who can work with the people of Kayunga. I said, no, my dream is in northern Uganda. Then they talked about Noya. I had never heard about Noya. That's why I said, where is Noya? And it was cut from Guru. I said, okay, can we make an appointment? We go. I thought it was a chat. We arranged to meet. We arranged to travel to Noya. When we reached the district, I asked the district, do you have land? They said they don't have land. I asked my friends, UNCDF, are you going to buy land? Said, no, we don't have the money to buy the land, but we want to make a factory. I say, no, how can we make a factory when we don't have the land, when we have not organized the farmers, we don't have the fruits. That was the beginning of that success story. I want to thank them. They made the road. It was a 19-kilometer road. Now it's 28-kilometer road. And I've still been making that road and maintaining it. It was in March this year when COVID came in. I asked myself, what am I going to do? I had not paid salary for my workers, I think for 2 months. The first thing was to call for a meeting, all my workers, and I told them, yes, we don't have a choice. I have to pay your salaries. After paying them the salaries, I told them now, better go back home where you belong and help your parents or do something, don't sit, because we don't know how the situation is going to be. And I thank God that I made a decision. I canceled my workers. They went back to the villages. I closed Delight Uganda Limited in Kawempe because we supply schools. We sell cheers juice. And schools were closed. There was nobody to buy, and there's nothing we could do. For 1 week, I was completely stranded as an entrepreneur. Then I scratched my head. I said, no, an entrepreneur and an innovator will never be stranded. We have to go back to the farm and plan better so that during this COVID, people need fruits, people need juice, and our cooperative society members have to be supported, has to be encouraged. We traveled to Noya. The first thing was to organize the farm. You see the farm is clean. This video was taken during that time of COVID. Second thing, we had an MOU to work together with Noya District and UN Women to empower 1,000 young women. We had to look for money. I told my daughter, please, if you have some money on your account, help me. She helped me. We supported those 1,000 women before we got the money. Each of them planted an eco fruits. That is guava, citrus, and also lemon, and they intercropped with sorghum. They are going to start the harvesting in December. At least 1,000 women planted, and they are sure that they will have an income. Then I also had raised the coffee seedlings, 800,000 coffee seedlings we supply to the community. 5,000 farmers planted coffee. And also we started training them on a distance, telling them this is a time of COVID, this is a time of new normal. You don't have a choice. You must work. You must till the land and feed the nation. So I cancelled all the workers. I cancelled the cooperative society members. We have under Noya Fruit Growers Cooperative Society. I'm the chairperson, and we have 5,000 outgrowers. So my responsibility was, if everybody can plant fruits and maintain their orchard, then we shall take advantage of COVID. And I want to tell you, it has helped us. One, we have managed to sell all the lemons we had in the farm, and the citrus. The mangoes came in, that was around May. We had to struggle to bring the mangoes. We had to do online marketing. We marketed mangoes, we hawked mangoes to the people's home. We made some money to pay the workers and to survive. And this time of COVID, it gave me a challenge to think more and plan ahead of time. To plant more, we planted at least 80 acres of that was guavas. And to have time to think, to learn to market online, to plan online, and also to train online, and also to create the dollars worth. Because there was no more time to think that I'm going to sell the chairs. Up to now, we have not opened because the schools, few schools have been open. Now, I was thinking, how are we going to survive? I want to tell you people, this year we have planned better than any other years. We have realized that we have to create a dollar's worth. We must have food. We planted sorghum, we planted rice, we planted cassava, we planted potatoes, because we knew we are not going to get money to buy food. So we must sustain ourselves. We had time to write some proposals, to look for people whom we can work with, to train the community. I looked at our institute. That is the time we had to embody people to start training them so that they can run fruit farming as a business. I looked at the corporate value chain of fruits. I said, yes, if we do it perfectly, we shall have the money, because everybody needs our fruits. We need, as Ugandans, to sell locally and import, and also to do value addition. So on that complete value chain, I valued the power of unity, the power of collaboration between the government, because I managed to supply the seedlings we have. I managed to supply other seedlings which we are paid by UN Women, and I managed to have a future, a settled future, because I knew that if everybody in the community plant fruits, we shall have money within Noya district and within the company, and we shall do our value addition. My dream of the fresh juice from the fresh fruits. And I also realized that as an innovator, as the CEO of the company, how can I be stranded? You always take advantage of every challenges in life. And I wanted to talk about the younger people. Younger people love quick money, but they also need to work with us old entrepreneurs to plan for them. That's why we encourage them to do the intercrop. The season crops, you plant it with the mangoes and guavas. Within 4 or 5 months, you get money from the intercrop. After 1 year and a half, you get money from the guavas. After 4 or 5 years, you will have money from the mangoes. We have managed to resettle the community of Noya district. People are happy, and we are working with many people. Our institute has worked this out. From 1st of December, we are going to start training 6,000 younger people in a complete value chain of fruits. So, as well as other people are complaining about COVID, for us, we are busy in the village. Because we know you keep a distance and you work with partners, development partners, government. As they support you, you also support the people at the grassroots. What do we really need in Uganda? I think Uganda, we are blessed by nature. We need to resettle the nature, and the nature resettles us so that we can support from each other. From the forest, you have seen, we have different animals, different birds, crocodiles, And you find that our soil is very fertile. We benefit out of it. And as we also resettle the nature, we ensure that we plant everything it needs. And we also benefit out of it. I want to tell you, we can treat you of corona because we have the citrus you need, we have the lemon, we have all the fruits you need to survive as the patient of corona. Even the immune system. We have sour soap. We use the leaves to boil every day we make our green tea, guavas. So what do we need to do as Ugandans? To know our challenges and learn to help ourselves and stop this system of dependence. Ugandans, we have it all. We are gifted by nature. So we really need to have that collaboration, to have that corporate value chain, and also to learn to work hard and plan ahead of time. If you have somebody to help you, like the way we were helped by UNCDF, being taken to the NOYA, the place I didn't know, we have managed to do that. We have managed to help even those people who have never gone to school. I had never imagined that I will start an institute, but our institute is really doing wonders. It is a center of excellence. Whether you've gone to school or not, for us we do hands-on training, how to do it. I happen to be to sit on the Presidential Investor Roundtable. Yesterday we had a Zoom meeting. I was telling the technical people from Ministry of Agriculture, we need each other. We need all the technical team to come to the farm. We learn from them because they are professionals. We bring the community. We trap their ideas from the brain to the hands. Then we implement it. That is the only way we are going to chase away poverty from Uganda. That is the only way we are going to develop our country. But if we want to work alone, we cannot make it. So my appeal to the younger people is, let us work together. Let us know our strengths and where we can do better, and join up. Development partners, government, entrepreneurs, and the people who still have the energy. I call the younger people the IT people. They have all the knowledge in the brain, but they also need guidance from us who have seen it all. I really want to thank those people who invited me for the trust you have put in me, and encourage you more to have such a plans, because when we come here, somebody goes a different person to plan better and ensure that we work together. So the power of unity, the power of working hard, and the power of learning from each other. So I want to thank you and bless you. Thanks a lot for the trust you put in me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Julian, for the inspiring gems that you've just shared. She reminds me a lot about my mother, who used to tell me while growing up that if you want to go far, go alone. And if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And I think that's something that many young entrepreneurs could borrow, especially during such a time. Dr. Julian has provided the perfect foundation for the first panel discussion we'll be having around the theme, an ecosystem approach to fostering the resilience and recovery of the Ugandan entrepreneur. I would like to invite you back to the stage, Dr. Julian, to join this conversation. We shall also be having Vanessa Atim, who is the founder of Pro Interns. Chris Lucolio, who is the digital country lead of UNCDF, will also be joining this panel. Dr. Gudula Naiga Basaza, the managing director of Goody Leisure Farm, will be joining us remotely. And this panel will be moderated by Barbara Birungi, who is the co-founder of Hive Collab and founder of Women in Technology Uganda. So. Yeah. The microphones are at your side. You can just tap them to make sure they are on and working. I'll sanitize in just a second. Otherwise, Barbara, while we set up Dr. Gudula, yeah.
Hello? When I speak. Can we have them sanitized, please? All right. I'm not sure if this is on. I have a really loud voice, so I'm not sure whether it's on or not. Is it?
I think it's on.
Okay.
But before we get started, I'll just pass out. I only thought this was for weddings. If you are a driver of vehicle UAN 604K and UBH 811L and UAR 190D, kindly move your vehicles because there's a bit of technical stuff that needs to be done where you're parked. And also, if you picked a charger for a phone at the back in the lounge, kindly return it. In the meantime, we'll exercise a bit of personal hygiene by making sure the mics are sanitized and functional. Take it away, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Excited to have such a seasoned panel of Ugandans who are doing amazing things. Doctor, that was a brilliant preset to our conversation. Thank you so much for sharing as much as you did. I'm excited to be speaking to you, Chris. It's been more than 4 years. Yeah, definitely. I've heard so much about pro interns. Excited to have you on this panel.
You.
And Dr. Gudula, who's not here yet, but she'll be joining us as we go on into this panel. So the theme for this year is fostering an ecosystem approach, recovery and resilience. The whole world is going through this. And we need to ensure that our young people, our entrepreneurs, both young and old, are able to recover from this. Wherever you are, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are in a job, you've been affected by this thing. More so young entrepreneurs. As Richard was talking this morning with his opening remarks, he talked about closure of literally everything and entrepreneurs calling from left, right, and center. People lost their stock. Others, because they needed to feed their families, kind of spent their capital to stay alive. And now that the country has been opened up again, are looking for ways of coming back again and running these businesses. And they're finding a challenge. So the conversations that we're having here today are so relevant to what is going on right now that it will benefit literally every single one if we approach it from an ecosystem point of view. And we all have a role to play, whether you're the entrepreneur, development partners, government, and seasoned entrepreneurs helping young entrepreneurs. I'm going to start with Doctor. And I want to say, of course, as you were speaking, I put myself in the mind of a young, really small entrepreneur thinking, yeah, if I went to the district, would they even listen? If I went to UNCDF, would they listen? Probably not. And so my first question to you is, putting yourself in the feet of a young entrepreneur who does not have credibility yet, who's just surviving and their business was just beginning to make money, they're beginning to test that. You've been there as an entrepreneur where you were just starting, no one knew you. How do we as an ecosystem help such young entrepreneurs come up?
Thank you. Thank you. To me, I had a humble, poor beginning, and I believed in myself. And when I want to do something, no matter what, I must achieve it. So the young people, one thing, their capacity, and don't look at the challenges. You see that you must do it. And it is that vigor in you, that determination, no matter what you meet on the way, you must achieve what you want. Because if your vision is, I need this, and you are disappointed, maybe you've tried to approach somebody to help you, somebody does not help you, go back. Be like the widow who bothered the judge, because she wanted a right, and the judge did not help her because he wanted to do it, but he wanted his freedom. So she had to persist. We need to persist in whatever we want. We must know what we want. And we need to do the business we understand better, not to copy others. What has challenged young entrepreneurs is to copy others. But if you know your line and you know what you want, and you are consistent and you save and you understand it better, you will achieve it and you will make people to believe in you. It depends on how you present yourself better and your consistency, and you really mean you must achieve what you want. Thank you.
So persistence and determination are the two things I'm picking out mainly from what you say. Chris, over to you. As UNCDF, I'm putting you in the development partners, but I'm also going to loop you into government and all these big shots, banks and all that. How can these various large ecosystem players support recovery in Uganda for young entrepreneurs? Concrete steps, please.
Concrete steps. Thank you so much. And I think it's a very, very good point that you raise, that indeed, what can we do to foster an environment that enables that recovery? I think that the right policy and regulatory environment will go a long way. And this is a key pillar of the work that we're doing at UNCDF in fostering that enabling policy and regulatory environment. It's true, everybody has been hard hit. It's hard to access capital. It's hard to, sometimes even as we use digital devices, even as we reach out to different attendees of this Innovation Week using digital platforms, there are those out there who are really in danger of being left behind. And so policies that enable people to access digital platforms and actually make use of digital platforms to really improve their livelihoods, their well-being, their productivity. And I think that with this crisis, it's highlighted something that we always, before when you talked about digitization, it sort of sounded like, nice to have. And now, we really recognize that it's necessary. This is how we reach underserved communities. This is how we reach our customers. And many of the entrepreneurs out there can only reach their customers through e-commerce platforms now, through social media. So having policies in place that can foster that innovation, that can foster access to and usage of, will go a long way.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up on that. Who, in your opinion, or do you think is best to drive this conversation? Because entrepreneurs are definitely not going to drive it. Even if they tried, it may not go so far. So who's the best person to drive this conversation around policy? Specifically, when you talked about policy, one of the things I thought about was URA, and how, if you've seen, URA has raised more money than they've ever raised, I think, or they've hit their targets, the new stringent rules that are coming up. It's really hard for entrepreneurs. So who is best to drive this conversation to help government, development partners understand where we are at and what kind of support they need to bring onto the table for us to be able to recover?
Yeah, that's a good question. Julian made a very good point about if you want something, you go get it. Many times, across the world, policy always follows innovation. You try something new, and suddenly somebody wakes up and says, wait, is that legal?
Yeah.
Can we do that? And I think that pushing the envelope, looking at tragedies like COVID-19, not as tragedies, but as opportunities to have new ways to reach new customers, to have new collaborations. Because when you do that as an entrepreneur, policy will follow. You know, they will see what you are doing. And so I don't think that entrepreneurs should wait for government, should wait for somebody else to lead the conversation. You are the starters. You are the ones with ideas. And that's why we are really proud, again, to really support Kampala Innovation Week with Startup Uganda, because we know that this is where the conversation should start, that as we seek to have inclusive innovation, the ideas start here. Innovation then is followed by policy. And so I think that innovators should lead the conversation.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that. I like that you talked about Startup Uganda. Definitely, if it's Startup Uganda and we have big dogs like UNCDF, if we start something, get your backing, then we can walk in and break doors for government and other players to come in. Vanessa, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How do we hold these people accountable? So it's nice to have conversations and say we are going to foster policy changes, we are going to do what, but how do we hold people accountable? Because I don't want us to come back here next year in November and we're like, yeah, what did we do to help the ecosystem recover and we didn't achieve? So how do we hold ourselves and the different players in the ecosystem accountable?
I think, thank you. I think after, forums and having events like these, we need to have follow-ups. So we need to understand, okay, after we have these type of conversations, what are we doing? What are the actions that entrepreneurs are taking? What are the actions that other stakeholders in the government, private sector, public sector, and even development partners, what are we doing to ensure that we can actually reach the end goal? And it's important to have these check-ins because sometimes, like you said, you can have these type of forums and the conversation just dwindles. So I think it's important to have action points from events like these so that we can hold each other accountable. Yeah.
Thank you. Follow on to that. As an entrepreneur, you spoke and talked about the challenges that you faced where either companies are reducing that are taking people and you had to set up a platform and all that. How do entrepreneurs help themselves recover? Do we just close up shop and go back to the village?
No.
How do we help ourselves? What role can we play in our own recovery as entrepreneurs?
I think it's important to understand, especially in times like this, how can you be innovative? So I was stuck in a really, confused place when everything had happened, during COVID, because like you've mentioned, a lot of companies had cut back in their spending with regards to their recruitment. So I thought, okay, how can we innovate? What can we do to lead during this time? And during that time, I collaborated with a company called Boundless Minds Uganda, and we created an online blog series about the future of work post-COVID. We also carried out an online survey to understand how students and graduates had been impacted by COVID-19, and we found that 80% of planned annual training and internship programs had been cancelled. So what can we do to help? We then started advertising online internship opportunities. So rather than hiding and, closing shop, I thought, how can I be innovative with the time that we're in? And we actually had a spike in opportunities from outside of Uganda, for example, in the US and the UK, for Ugandans that were looking for internship opportunities. So that provided and proved an opportunity during, post-COVID. So you have to think about how can you be innovative during this time, go back to the drawing board, think outside of the box. You may need to speak and bounce ideas off of your peers and other entrepreneurs to understand how your industry has been impacted and try and draw a plan and a way forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And just to add on to that, as entrepreneurs in our own recovery, what can we do to ensure? I think for me, as we too, as Hive Collab and other ventures that I'm into, the first focus that I had was how do we stay alive? That was the first thing I had to make sure we do. Stay open, stay alive, and do not let the business go down. So it meant I had to look at what monies do we have in the bag, in cash and in the bank? What monies are we expecting, and what is the degree of certainty that this money will be coming in? What are our expenses, the planned and the current? What are those costs that we cannot absolutely do without? What are those things that have been good to have but can be put on hold for now, so that either operations stay? How do we move our operations? So we had to move everything online. There's been a lot of training that's been going on. Entrepreneurs, I'm glad, have been taking those up from all the different hubs. So as innovation hubs, one of the things that we have done is to ensure that we are looking at all the entrepreneurs and providing trainings. For example, how are you even handling stress during this time? Employees are thinking, do I have my job? And so people are beginning businesses left, right, and center, and thinking, okay, if they send me a letter or email saying business is closed, at least I have this side thing. You saw letters going over, written yesterday and on social media from large organizations, large companies saying they're laying off people. And as entrepreneurs, you're thinking, okay, do I keep my people? What do I do? And so having and again, an approach that is collaborative. She talked about collaboration. Having an approach that is collaborative with your people, your employees, if you are a startup that has employees, helping them understand where the company is at and that you're in this together. It's not boss or owner of the business versus us employees, but it's us. It's our business. It's where we get our daily income. So if we can work together, what can we reduce? Can people take pay cuts? It's better if you don't, but if you had to, like, that way you can help yourself recover. What people can you reach out to? What investment opportunities are available? MasterCard came in and started supporting innovation hubs to provide like recovery basically for innovation hubs and their entrepreneurs. So there's some investment that is available, but people are not even taking this up. Or how do you get yourself to the level where you are ready to take up investment that's going to be coming in? Government of Uganda is thinking about creating opportunities. Banks are thinking about reducing interest rates, I think. And other players within the ecosystem are thinking about creating recovery ways for you. But are you ready to take those up? Because yes, they do want to support, but they are not just going to just give it because they want you to come back up. You have to be prepared for these opportunities. All right. You have to be prepared for these opportunities. So for me, one of the key things I think entrepreneurs need to do is to be prepared and then reevaluate your whole strategy. How you're doing business, who you have within your business, your suppliers, literally everything within your business has to be rethought and reworked to ensure that you stay awake and you're not struggling but thriving through this pandemic. It's possible if you put thought to it. Dr. Gudula, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. So we are talking about having an ecosystem approach to recovery for Ugandan entrepreneurs. As an entrepreneur, how are you preparing your businesses for recovery that other young entrepreneurs can learn from? What are the steps that you have taken to have your business stay afloat or businesses stay afloat in this time?
Can you repeat the last part, please?
What are the steps that you have taken to ensure that your businesses stay alive and thrive during this pandemic? What advice do you give to young entrepreneurs to be able to stay alive just like yourself?
Thank you. There is echo from that side, but the question is clear. We are into the business of incubation of youth in agribusiness. And we do this along the white meat value chain. During this period of the pandemic, it has become more clear than ever before that it's important for us to work in an ecosystem which is value chain linked. And we are able to thrive during this period just because we are connected as an ecosystem. And when anyone is in business, it's important for you to know the people who supply you and the people you are supplying, but also to have connections to the environment that is enabling each of these nodes of the value chain to work. And when we talk about enabling environment, we are looking at policy makers. What is it that is pressing you in your value chain and you need support? And who is that person that can give you support? And what relationship do you have with that person? What we did as an incubation center, we noticed we do a lot of work that is connected with the Ministry of Agriculture. We went ahead to make sure we streamline our relationship with an MOU. At times we say we are connected to people, but there is no document that shows the relationship or expectations from one another. So I would encourage that whichever person you are saying you are collaborating with in your ecosystem, have a clearly written out arrangement. The other issue that is very important for us is to ensure that we are transparent. The people in our ecosystem want to know what we do and what value they can add. And this must be clearly spelled out. And we should recognize them for the value they are adding into our own work that we do in the ecosystem. The third important thing is for us to have regular meetings where we are reporting to one another. In such meetings, we are able to co-create, we are able to co-design, we are able to collaborate, and also see ways in which we can push forward. Maybe we have similar problem. I'm going to use our own value chain. We have people who supply us the feeds. If we don't have a meeting with them and tell them, because for example, what we do, we are able to tell to follow a batch of feed and the animals it has fed and how they have grown. We give this feedback to the source of the feed. In so doing, we are able to encourage them to maintain the standards. So regular communication is very important.
Thank you so much, Doctor. One of the key things that I've picked out of your conversation is network building or relationship building. As human beings, we are so relational and everything operates around relationships. So even the whole topic of an ecosystem approach is talking about collaboration and relationship building. So thank you so much. That's very key. Dr. Julian, I want to go back to you and ask you about this thing of accountability. How do we hold key players accountable, ecosystem partners and stakeholders accountable to ensure that we yield the results that we want?
I also go back to Dr. Goodall, what he has stated. We made an MOU with MAIF. It should be signed in 2 weeks' time. And all the partners we work with, we hold them accountable. And personally, I'm accountable to the younger people. I'm going to work with 6,000 young people. I must lead them from the beginning of planting till we do value addition, till I ensure that they come out of poverty. When we are working with the development partners, we must sign MOUs and ensure ensure that whatever we agreed, we deliver. It's very, very important to be strict and be consistent in what you do. And you must plan ahead of time. Don't start up what you can't finish. So you must be accountable to yourself, to the partners you work with, and even to the community. To me, I can say, no, I'm more accountable to the community because my dream was to make fresh juice from the fresh fruits. So I must be accountable to all the partners I'm working with till we put food at the juice at the table, because if I'm not accountable, if I cannot set a factory, I promise them I'm going to set a factory to make the juice. I will be your market. But I also have to lead them through how to do it. That's why we had to build an institute. I didn't imagine that we shall have an institute. We learn and how to do it better, how to deliver better. And if all of us, we can be accountable to each other, this world will be a happy place to live in. But failure to account, then we cannot achieve anything. So it's very, very important you start with yourself. Have I done what am I supposed to do in life? You might have so many meetings like me today. I'm a board member of Private Sector Foundation, but I'm accountable that I said yes. So it's very, very important in life. You take it upon yourself to be accountable to the people you work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Being accountable as an entrepreneur is very key. Vanessa, who are you accountable to as an entrepreneur? And two, how are you collaborating with other entrepreneurs in this recovery thing?
That's a great question. So I think in terms of who I'm accountable to, it would be to our stakeholders. So that would be to our interns, the students and graduates on our platform, and also employers. We have to make sure we deliver. When an employer posts an opportunity on our platform, we have to ensure that that process is as seamless as possible. So that means, following up with an email or with a phone call just to ensure that they understand the process and how it works. And then also being able to reach out to those within our talent pool. Through our blog, we make sure we have informative career advice, and we also have very informative information on our social media pages, and have recently launched an online talk show called Pro Talks. So we have to ensure that we're feeding them with the right information that they need about the labor market, not only in Uganda, but on a global scale. So those are who we are accountable to. And we have to also make sure that we check in. So we send out surveys on a regular basis to measure how we are doing. That's number one. And then in terms of, what was the second question, sorry? In terms of the...
Who you're accountable to and who are you collaborating with?
In terms of who we're collaborating with in the ecosystem, that would be the Innovation Village, number one. And they provide us with a lot of support in terms of mentorship, in terms of training. And we were also one of the beneficiaries from the Future of Work program. And we received a grant from the MasterCard Foundation as part of its post-COVID relief fund. So we're also accountable to them, to ensure that we are providing internship and placement opportunities to young Ugandans. So we have to report to them also. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Chris, my last question. First of all, thank you so much, UNCDF, for supporting Startup Uganda. It's a great start. In recovery and resilience of Uganda, what are the plans of UNCDF?
Recovery
specific to the entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Yes. No, I think that's a great question. The plans that we have, as you know, the current program that we're implementing is a 5-year program. And this promoting inclusive innovation, the work stream under which we're supporting Startup Uganda, is not a one-time thing. I mean, it's central to the entire strategy. When we talk about leaving no one behind in the digital era, think about your rural farmers, your refugees, and think about the circumstances they face, whether it's limited access to devices, low network coverage, limited knowledge and skills. These are central, and you have to build them up in order to ensure that no one's left behind. And so when we promote inclusive innovation, we're asking innovators to take those aspects into account in building new solutions, new service offerings. And so for us, this is central to the entire strategy. And this strategy is not just being implemented in Uganda, it's actually the global strategy on digitization for UNCDF. And so our plans are to have this as a central theme and to promote it consistently throughout the implementation of this program. But also, let me just say real quick that you can't have accountability without ownership. And so we are building ownership locally. I mean, we are collaborating with public and private sector. We have advisory boards where different ministries, private sector companies sit, because we need to build that ownership. UNCDF should not be in this business forever. The local ownership, the capability that's built, should see that once we exit, there's ownership and there's sustainability. And so our plan is to build those things and to make sure that once our technical assistance runs out, that we've already built the capability for this to continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. I want to open it up to Q&A from the audience if there's any questions.
Or online.
Or online, actually. If we have any questions coming in online or from the guys that are within, yes, please.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator and the team. Congratulations, especially that 3 ladies, 2 here, 1 virtual. Thank you for the efforts. I'm Patrick Mugisha from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, and I work as an Assistant Commissioner in charge of innovations and intellectual property management. Mine is not a question, it's actually a comment, maybe to supplement what is being said and maybe also to bring in the feel of what government really wishes to see in this kind of ecosystem. As my brother Chris mentioned clearly, that aspect of policies and enabling environment in terms of regulations are critical, but then also it should be known by the ecosystem that it can be very hard for the innovators to drive policy because policies are usually cleared by governments. So you present your case and you need a lead agency within government to front this. So at the end of the day, I think there's still that disconnect between the private sector and maybe government. It should be a very clear and mutually beneficial kind of relationship. And also, if you look at aspects of how government should react or respond to this kind of situations, is that the truth is that government has very many competing priorities. But the whole point is, if you position yourself strategically, and I'm proud how Dr. Julian and her colleague went for it. As soon as you sign an MOU with an MDA, that's a ministry dependent agency, you stand a chance to be always heard every time you raise your hand. But another thing is also to be able to be open and also believe in your government. At times I think you always say, what will government do for us? Come to us. We cannot reach everyone, but we can always have something to take you on. And especially for majority of innovators, one thing that Ministry of Science could really be keen on is that aspect of how do you give that technical aspect in your innovation space and also aspects of intellectual property. These are critical stuff. This ministry, this pro bono service, you won't pay, we are not lawyers, but you'll walk into that place, leave a happy person. So thank you very much, Chris, the funders and moderator.
Thank
Good
you. Before
job.
you sit down, I have
Yes,
a question
please.
for you.
Ask.
Thank God government is here.
We are here. We are here. Yeah.
So what, two questions for you. What
Yes.
is ministry doing to support recovery for innovators in Uganda? That is one. And then two, you talked about it being so hard for us to engage government and get the response that we need.
Yes.
How would you advise, you who is in government or who's government right now, how do you advise us to approach this? Because we need you guys on board. So I'm speaking now, let's say as Startup Uganda, how do we work with you to ensure that we get what we need from you?
Very good. I think if there's one ministry that has engaged Startup Uganda for a very long time on good stuff, it's the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. And I remember when they're developing their Startup Uganda, I think, strategy, I was I represented the ministry to make input into that framework and be interviewed on that aspect. One thing must be clear is that we need to build trust. If you don't trust your spouse, even if she tells you something or he tells you something, you'll never believe. That's the relationship you're looking for. Trust that you can listen, but also be able to empathize and understand that there could be moments that we plan, but factors that are beyond our control, we cannot be able to implement this. But I think when you come to the round table, always and co-ideate, how do we need to see the Ugandan startup ecosystem develop like? I'll give you an example. We are trying to engage a farm where we are going to be able to try and, we really want to understand what is it for the Ugandan startup ecosystem. Remember, the traditional approach has always been from idea, you grow to delight Uganda. You jump that startup phase, which is critical. So we want to really take lead and work together and see how would we be able to navigate through this? Because I'll ask you, Madam Moderator, how do you define a startup in Uganda setting? What's a startup? Who should run a startup? How long should a startup be a startup? So these are things that one end you'll never answer it. But when we come, we shall benchmark, look at what's happening globally in other countries, ecosystems that are really thriving, and we can have something that can be customized for Uganda. The other question was the recovery?
Recovery for innovators.
So in our scenario, as a Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, one thing that we really did was majority of the innovations and that were coming up in the line of COVID, actually we had to kind of like prioritize on COVID-related solutions. And I think a lot of funds were actually channeled through that area, and majority of them, I think, went into equipments, capitalizing them, getting some few consumables to fast-track some of therapeutic solutions to the end, devices, biomedical devices. So it came through that option. It never came through maybe looking at startups and giving them money. So I think that's the channel we took. But through the National Research and Innovation Program Fund, which is hosted by the ministry, which is actually kind of the legal framework that government is going to be using to churn out resources, technical, financial, to support the ecosystems. That will be the channel we're actually using. And we hope this will grow and grow as we move forward. Yeah, I hope I've managed to something.
Just to supplement, when we talk about support, we are not just looking at financial support, but also favorable policy, or at least relaxing some policies for some time as entrepreneurs try to recover. Any other questions from me? Time is fast spent. Yes.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Alan Ananura from iVenture Africa. I represent a number of startups and entrepreneurs out there. Briefly from our panel, would like to know, how do we collaborate? We've heard you talk about this collaboration animal. How do we collaborate with you, for instance? Thank you.
I'll bring it to you guys. So Chris, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. So the way you collaborate with us, I think there are several avenues, and even when we have implementing partners or we support entities like Startup Uganda, actually the idea is that through that entity we are reaching out to the wider innovation ecosystem, because I think Startup Uganda is a collection of several innovation hubs, and in that way we're inviting collaboration. There are other aspects. I think it might have been Vanessa or you, Barbara, you talked about how do we go from speaking about all this to action. And when we've been going through the COVID-19 crisis, there have been several innovation challenges. We've been inviting people to share their ideas. And again, through implementing partners like Startup Uganda, there are others who have taken up the mantle. I know Innovation Village has been doing quite a lot. So indeed, these have been some of the avenues. But it's also a two-way street, and we encourage conversation. Of course, social media is a good way to keep that up, but by all means, those are some of the ways. I don't know, panel members, please.
Just maybe one more. So I would agree with Chris, but also from an entrepreneurship perspective, you just have to be very aggressive and bold. So, for example, if I wanted to then, say, for example, speak to Chris after, I would ask him for his business card, follow up via email, see if we can sit down for a coffee or have an e-meeting online, and understand how we can create a mutually beneficial partnership or collaboration that will benefit both, his organization and mine. So I think it's important to, as an entrepreneur, just put your pride to the side and, just be very bold, communicate, push for a meeting, and then follow up.
And I think that is exactly what Dr. Julian talked about. Be determined and go after what you need. Someone else had a question. I think that would be our last question, because our time is fast spent.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Hussein. I'm from the International University of East Africa. And my question is, in the communication aspect in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship. So there has been a lot of talk about use of internet, use of digital means and social media by entrepreneurs to survive in this era. But my question is, in Uganda currently, the whole access to internet and communication services generally, both internet and also access to devices like laptops, smartphones, is difficult. It's pretty expensive. So how can that be made easier, not only from the government, but from the private sector, the telecom companies and the electronics equipment manufacturers and importers, to make things more affordable for the Ugandan market? Because currently there's a lot of need for digital technologies, like Miss Vanessa talked about her course getting 2,000 downloads. I would say in the Ugandan scenario, that's a good number. But globally, 2,000 is pretty small. But seeing the current situation in Uganda where internet access is so expensive, where we are just buying bundles in MBs, downloading a video course is pretty expensive. So how can we make that easier for all entrepreneurs? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any takers on that? I do know that the ED for UCC is going to be here at 12 p.m. I think that's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking that. If you look at the statistics, you're absolutely right. Not so many young people can afford, and if we are taking businesses online, but our people that we are trying to sell to are not online, then I don't know what we are doing. I think that is something that we all need to collectively think about and see what kind of policy we can look in, unless someone else has something else to add to this. Chris? Yeah.
Sure. Just to mention, there has been work that's been done by the government, actually. So you've heard about efforts to assemble mobile phones locally. Efforts like these are actually an attempt to lower costs of access to digital platforms. So there are several efforts in place. You're right. Sometimes a lot of this moves slowly. These are large communities that we're talking about. But there's also, I think, there's also been lowering of taxation actually on several technology items. So there are efforts. But as an entrepreneur, yes, it's going to be tough. Ultimately, you have to see, what value this adds to your business, and your investors should be able to see that, and you invest in what you need to get your idea to market. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And so as we close, just to one last thing about what you talked about, the innovation hubs around actually do have a number of parks in there that you can utilize in terms of providing really low cost internet, really good internet, but at almost free right now. So do take opportunity, visit those hubs, see what they're offering, and utilize them, really, is what I would say. Thank you so much, guys. As we close this panel, any last words? Yes, Doctor.
Thank you. One thing I want to say that the young people always have good ideas, good visions, but they sit back. And others want to start with borrowing. But to me, I want to tell the younger people, believe in yourself, start small, be consistent, and look for that person who can help you. In every meeting, pick one person who will help you to go to another step. For example, I'm supposed to create a curriculum on fight against fruit flies. I've got him. I'm going to follow him today, and I will ensure that he helps me to ensure that I achieve what I need. So what is very, very important, never underrate your capacity. Do something. Somebody must help you when you are already doing something, when you have started something, and never give up. So young people, that is the problem. And also the need of quick money. Believe me or not, if we are to develop ourselves as Ugandan, we must give ourselves time and reinvest the money. We should stop that thing of quick money, quick ideas. Take time, understand what you want, and who is that person you can work with. How can you do it? Do you have the market? Do you have the future of your business? Understand your business, have time for it, and do it and persist in it, then you will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would echo Doctor and say never, don't give up. But also in doing that, I think it's important to reach out for support when you need it. So entrepreneurs can learn a lot from one another. And we have so many innovation hubs, you know, here in Kampala, here across Uganda. So sometimes you can go in, strike up a conversation, understand some of the challenges that you're facing, avenues for, you know, solutions to those problems, and understanding best practice as well.
Last words. No, this is just a call to action. So Kampala Innovation Week, last year I met several entrepreneurs who were talking about ideas they had, collaborations they wanted to sort of start up. Here we are once again. So it's a call to action. Make use of this forum. The people attending in person is a small number, but there's a large audience online. They're going to be pitching sessions. They're going to be investors milling around. Please take advantage of this opportunity. We're very thankful to Startup Uganda for your efforts. We're very proud of all the entrepreneurs, and we look forward to a very vibrant session. Thank you so much.
So Startup Uganda is the network of innovation hubs around Uganda. Approach us. We are ready to support you. And also, this event is running on Hover, and that's one way you can network with the different people that are here physically and people who are not. Even after that event, you can definitely hit up someone on Hover and say, hey, can we go for coffee or something? I have something I have to share. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here and having us. It's been lovely hosting you guys.
Let's put our hands together for this lovely panel. Once again, I'd like us to put our hands together for this panel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So I hope you really enjoyed that panel on how you can get support from different ecosystem players. You heard most of the partners mention how they exist actually to support you, and all you have to do is ask. And I would also very much appreciate Patrick from the Ministry of Science and Technology, who re-echoed the fact that the ministry actually exists to provide this support. So next, I'd like us to have a couple of remarks from Dmitry Pozidev, who is the Regional Technical Advisor of UNCDF, who are the main Startup Uganda partner. Dmitry will also invite our guest of honor when he's done with his remarks. So over to you, Dmitry.
Yes, let me organize myself a little bit. Thank you. On behalf of UNCDF, the UN Capital Development Fund, and also on behalf of Her Excellency Ms. Rosa Malango, the resident coordinator for the United Nations system in Uganda, allow me to pass on greetings and congratulations to all of you on this very important event. Let me start with the role of the United Nations in general in supporting the ecosystem for innovation in Uganda. Innovation is a very important component of the new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which was just a couple of months ago launched by His Excellency the President of Uganda as a partnership document between the government of Uganda and the United Nations in Uganda. In there, innovation and support to innovation makes a critical component of what the United Nations is planning to do in three big areas: governance, economic development, and human development, to help Uganda achieve its ambitious development agenda and to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. In this context, I would like to make three remarks before I invite our guest of honor. The first one concerns the comprehensiveness of innovation. As you could hear from the previous panel, whereas there is a lot of emphasis on digital innovations, this is not the only kind of innovation that is required. We are talking about innovations in systems, processes, and the example of my sister Julian about the enterprise that they are running is an example where all three strands of innovation come together in a kind of a social enterprise. The second point concerns the role of innovation in development. We are talking about innovation not for the sake of innovation, but for the sake of unleashing the creative potential of the country and taking it to the new heights in its development in the three major areas which I have mentioned. Last but not least, as much as we are talking about innovation through the private sector, we should not forget about the government. The government can and should be an innovator in its own right, not only as the key contributor to an effective ecosystem for support of innovation, but also as an innovator in its own right. And there are many areas where the government should innovate. And I hope that as we move to the next edition of the Kampala Innovation Week next year, we will also have government representatives telling us and sharing their experiences in innovation. With these very short remarks, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Ms. Irene Sevankambo, the Acting Executive Director of the Uganda Communication Commission, for her welcome remark. Thank you so much. Good morning and welcome to the Kampala Innovation Week. I would like to introduce you to our participants. Here with us is Ms. Irene Sevankambo, Acting Executive Director of the Uganda Communications Commission, for her welcome address to this gathering. Welcome so much. Over to you.
Thank you all. I hope you can hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good afternoon to you all. I'm delighted to join you for the 2020 Kampala Innovation Week at a time of extraordinary challenge and opportunity as we navigate this COVID-19 pandemic. Let me start by congratulating the organizers for the continuity of this event and to thank them for inviting me to be a part of this year's event. The unprecedented global health crisis we are facing is affecting all parts of society and changing our lives, businesses, and livelihoods. The COVID-19 pandemic is testing the resilience of economies and job markets, national education and healthcare systems, highlighting the digital divide, income inequality, workforce fragility all around the world. There are many indications that the COVID-19 pandemic will have a long-lasting social and economic impact. In all this, young people world over have been acutely impacted due to the disruption to education, lost jobs, and else. Yet even before this pandemic, young people were facing enormous challenges in these areas. In Uganda, a youth is a person aged 18 to 30 years. According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the youth in Uganda constitute 19.4% of the total population, and 55% of our population is below the age of 18 years. Young people are therefore a key human capital for our country. Notably, 71% of the youth live in rural areas, and 23% of households in Uganda are headed by youths. To successfully respond to and recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in a sustainable and equitable manner, we need to strategically partner with, support, train, and mentor young people to reach their full potential and thrive. This includes those who are disadvantaged or vulnerable, especially those who are living in rural areas, adolescent girls and young women, and young persons with disabilities. Over the years, we have witnessed the ability of the youth in Uganda to innovate. We have examples of products like Jaguza, Ensibuko, Winsenga, and various enterprises established across the country. Their ideas, collective energy, resourcefulness, creativity, and innovation can generate valuable solutions to the COVID-19 crisis and advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals. This, though, necessitates us rethinking and reimagining how to build the necessary skills and knowledge in young people to not only have productive lives and be employed in the future of work in light of developments such as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, but to thrive as innovators and to drive the development of the strongest, most resilient, most innovative, most globally competitive, and most inclusive economy possible. We need to inculcate in the young people a culture of lifelong learning. We also need to support research, invest in necessary infrastructure or facilities, and increase investment in science, technology, and other innovations. Additionally, we need an improved financial ecosystem to boost entrepreneurship and grow the businesses of the youth. The government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Education and Sports, is implementing a business, technical, and vocational and training strategic plan entitled Skilling Uganda. This emphasizes creating employable skills and competences that are relevant to the labor markets. In recognition of science, technology, and innovation as drivers of socio-economic growth and transformation of the world, Government of Uganda established a Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation to provide overall public guidance, coordination for scientific research, development, and the whole national innovation system in Uganda. Government, through Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, plans to fund local innovators to be self-employed and improve innovations in Uganda in order to reduce on import dependency while increasing exportation of locally made products. The National ICT Initiative Support Program was also established by the government of Uganda under the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance to tackle challenges faced by Ugandan ICT innovators in breaking through the local and international markets. The goal of this program is to champion the creation of the ICT innovation ecosystem, to create jobs, to facilitate growth and development of software applications and innovations industry in Uganda, and promote the adoption of ICT innovations and locally developed systems in government and private sector. The program has also established an ICT innovation hub at the Uganda Institute of ICTs in Nakawa to support efforts to increase ICT innovation. The government of the Republic of Uganda has also extended funding to Makerere University Research and Innovation Fund to support high-impact research and innovations to drive Uganda's development agenda. As Uganda Communications Commission, we also continue to boost research and innovation through initiatives such as the development of an innovation test bed, which was conceived to provide physical facilities, data, and services for research, innovation, and education in new and emergent ICTs and related applications. However, the government cannot do this alone. We need to join hands and work collectively as private sector, academia, development partners, and else. We should not let anything dampen our resolve to provide opportunities for our citizenry, create hope for the youth, and provide a better, safer, and healthier future for all. It is my honor to declare the 2020 Kampala Innovation Week officially launched. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Executive Director. I'd like to call upon partners of the event to join us on stage. Startup Uganda members and event partners, kindly join us. Please take center stage. So, DJ, we'll have a countdown from 10. Esther, could you join us on stage? If the DJ will give us a countdown from 10, and we'll have the official launch, supported by the executive director in the background. DJ, can you count down now? Okay. 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Kampala Innovation Week 2020 is officially open. Thank you very much. For those who are interested in having a tour of the motive space, kindly step to the motive table just on your right. The motive team will be happy to take you around the venue and also give you a tour over some of their programs. For lunch, there's a team from Chili's that's stationed at the back. They're happy to take your lunch orders. And for the rest of the afternoon, we'll be having the NTF4 pitch session. We'll be having video links within the lounge at the back, and that will take place from 12 to 4. We shall also be having a keynote presentation right after that, and a workshop and case study discussion in another track. So feel free to join the respective sessions that you'd like to be part of. Thank you very much.